Far Cry 6 is a first-person open-world adventure game developed and published by Ubisoft. The game's controls can be complex and do require access to the majority of the controller to be able to play the game fully, but there are a variety of different settings that can potentially help to make the game a more accessible experience, which we will look at in this video. We will look at accessibility, gameplay and control options related to the motor accessibility of the game, including features such as auto-steering, removing the need for repeated button presses, combining move and look control, and the motor accessibility preset option. Set on the fictional island of Yara, players can participate in story missions, side quests, or simply explore the large open world. Players can explore on foot, ride horses, drive cars, trucks, quad bikes and motorbikes, fly aeroplanes and helicopters, and drive boats and jet skis. The game features a wide range of weapons to use against enemy characters, from more traditional sniper rifles to the fictional revolver weapons. Far Cry 6 is available for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series consoles and PC. In this video we'll be focusing on the console version of the game when played with a gamepad, and all footage is captured on an Xbox Series S. Some of the in-game settings appear in several different menus, but we will cover each of them once only. The motor accessibility settings can be accessed via the main menu, and you can also access it by pausing the game at any point, scrolling across the system and then down to accessibility. When you first load up the game, there is the option to switch on the motor preset, but this can also be accessed at any time from the menu. Switching this on will turn on a variety of settings that the developer feels might be a helpful combination, but you can also adjust each individual setting. Now we will have a look at these settings in a bit more detail. By default, when using sniper rifles, the game has reticle sway switched on. This means that the crosshair will sway when aiming, and you have to line up your shot, taking this sway into account. Pressing left stick click or L3 will make your character hold their breath, which helps for a few seconds, but the crosshair will start moving again. If players find aiming difficult, there is the option to switch reticle sway off completely. At times during gameplay, players might need to press a button repeatedly or take part in QuickTime events. It is possible to reduce these to a single button press by switching repeated presses off. There are aim assist and lock-on options in this menu, which also appear in the gameplay menu, and we will look at this in more detail a bit later on in the video. Driving and shooting aim assist is on by default. Having this setting on means that when driving, if you draw your weapon, you will automatically aim your gun at the nearest enemy. Switching the option Convert Holds to Presses on means that actions which are usually activated by holding the button down, such as aiming down sights and crouching, will now be activated by a single button press. A second button press stops the action. If you would prefer to have crouch set to toggle and aim down sights set to hold, it is possible to leave this option off and scroll down to select which actions you would like to either be toggle or hold. The options are for aiming, crouching, and opening the weapon wheel. Switching on Convert Holds to Presses also means that actions such as opening crates, which you usually do by holding a button down, will now be activated by tapping the button twice instead. There is also the option to change the sprint type, which by default is activated by pushing forward on the left stick with a single press of the left stick click or L3 button. By setting this to stick incline, the more you push the left stick forward, the faster your character will move until finally sprinting. This could be helpful for those who find clicking the left stick difficult. There is also the No Stick Presses option, which automatically sets the left stick to stick incline and maps other stick click actions such as holding breath whilst aiming to Y or triangle, and melee to double tap of B or circle. There are also options in the gameplay settings menu that may help to make the game more accessible for some players. There is the option to change the game difficulty between action mode, which is the default Far Cry difficulty, and story mode. When playing in story mode, your character can take more damage, which can help to reduce the challenge when in combat or playing missions. You can change the difficulty at any time. There is also the option to switch aiming assists on or off. The assist is on by default and helps during combat situations. There is also the option to switch on lock-on aim. Lock-on aim means that when aiming at an enemy, the aim assist is a bit stronger and can help by completely locking onto the target. You can also select how long you want the lock-on to be activated for. By default, the auto steer option is set to automatic, but can be switched to manual if you prefer. This setting, when set to automatic, means that your car will automatically steer when you are aiming your gun at an enemy whilst driving. Manual means that you would have to manage both aiming and steering at the same time. Automatic change seat is on by default. With this setting on, you can climb into the passenger seat of a vehicle and your character will automatically move over to the driver's seat. Having this setting off means you have to manually change seats. Switching disable auto drive whilst aiming on means that your car will not automatically steer whilst aiming. There are a range of options within the controller settings that could help to make the game more accessible. Far Cry 6 has multiple different gameplay scenarios, from walking, swimming, driving multiple vehicles, flying planes and helicopters, and riding horses. Due to this, there are complex controls. However, the game also provides the option to remap controls based on each different scenario, with remapping options for when on foot, when flying a plane, and when driving a car, etc. One option is to swap the controller from default to lefty, which swaps several buttons around and may be useful for players who like playing first-person games in Southpaw mode. There is also the option to set the controller to a one-handed layout, picking either left or right-handed, which may make it easier to play the game with a single hand. There are sensitivity options for looking and aiming, with the higher the value, the faster the camera rotation. There are also sensitivity options for left stick responsiveness and right stick responsiveness. With the higher the value, the lower the incline required to reach the maximum value of the stick. This can help reduce how much effort is required to get the stick to its maximum value. You can set the hold to press and toggle options from this menu as well. There is the option to set the no stick presses option on from this menu, which means that the stick clicks are remapped to other parts of the controller. Having this option switched on automatically moves the left stick to stick incline. It is possible to combine move and look onto the same stick, so forward and backwards on the left stick acts as forwards and backwards, and left and right on the left stick acts as rotate left and right. The developer recommends having swap move and look while aiming on at the same time as combining move and look, which means that when you aim down sights, the left stick will now control aiming. Some players may find it easier to navigate the game with a single stick with these settings on, or may also use both sticks but prefer having the sticks mapped this way. With the combine move and look setting on, the right stick will control looking up and down and strafing left and right. There are several options to invert stick movement, such as invert vertical look, invert horizontal look, and you can also invert both third person vertical look and horizontal look. You play the game in third person when at various bases across the map. When remapping your controller, first scroll down to the control that you would like to swap. Here we're clicking on shoot to swap it from RT. We're going to map it to a single press of A by clicking on shoot and then pressing A. You get a warning if this creates a conflicting action. Here we now have both shoot and jump mapped to A. You can choose to ignore this and continue or unassign the action. Here we're going to continue with this remapping. Now when A is pressed, the character will shoot and jump at the same time. To get around this, you can reset the controls back to default or map either shoot or jump over to a different button. You will notice that some actions are set to hold, such as having to hold down right stick click to move a body, which can be useful if trying to conceal enemies you have killed when playing stealthily. Here we will demonstrate how you set button presses to holds by holding down A to remap this action to hold A. Press Y and then A again to revert back to default. By default, some in-game controls, such as firing the Supremos, are activated by pressing two buttons at the same time. There is the option to map button presses to a single button press, a single button hold, or a double press of a single button. You can also map it to pressing two buttons together, holding two buttons together, or pressing the two buttons together twice. It is possible to remap some analog actions to toggle. Instead of holding left stick up to walk forwards, we're going to set it to toggle, so a single press of left stick up will start walking forwards, and a second press of left stick up will stop walking. It is also possible to remap walking to digital actions, such as a press or hold of the A or cross button, for example. It is also possible to toggle accelerate, although this does work differently. By default, you will accelerate when R2 or RT are pressed. You can have this set so that a single press of the button will start your vehicle accelerating, and to go faster you press the button again. To slow down or stop, press the brake button. There are a range of different settings in Far Cry 6. We hope that this video has helped to highlight some of those which we think might be helpful for people who may benefit from motor accessibility options. If you have any questions about video game accessibility, please contact Special Effects.